Hello everyone, it's Alora, and today I am going to be sharing with you my top picks for my 2017 TBR. Now I have 20 plus books on this list, so let's not delay any further and just jump right in. To kick us off, I have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, so there is Daughter of Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight, Dreams of Gods and Monsters. I have read one of Laini Taylor's short stories, and she has a very fantastical, whimsical writing style, so I'm really looking forward to reading those three. Next, I want to read Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. This is the story of one married couple. It follows them through, I think, 40 years of their life together, and I recently started it, so I'm looking forward to finishing. I have a YA contemporary called Just One Day by Gail Forman. I think that most people have read this by now. I'm one of the stragglers who hasn't read it yet, so I'm gonna get on that. Also on my TBR is And I Darken by Kiersten White. I haven't read any of Kiersten White's books, but this is a retelling of Ivan the Terrible, I believe, except for it's a gender swap, so Ivan the Terrible is actually a young woman. From everything I've heard, it's supposed to be pretty violent, but I am looking forward to seeing how Kiersten White dealt with this Ottoman Empire story and how she gender swapped it. Also, the cover matches my sports bra, so I'm feeling pretty happy about that. On this list, I also have The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This is the first book in a large fantasy series about these people who can control different aspects of light, but every time they use their power, they shorten their life expectancy. So it sounds really fun. I'm hoping that it's good. I've heard a lot of great things about it, especially from Reagan over at Peruse Project, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. The next book I have is the second book in a trilogy that's a YA trilogy, the Darkest Minds trilogy. So the second book is Never Fade, and I did read the Darkest Minds last year and I haven't picked up the second one yet, so I definitely want to read it very soon, preferably this year. After that, I have another fantasy novel, and that is Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. This is the first book in a YA fantasy series that has been compared to Game of Thrones. I haven't read Game of Thrones, but I am in the middle of watching the series, so that sounds interesting to me if it's anything like that. Pretty much everyone on the face of the planet has read this book, so I am definitely late to the party, but I'm here now! Next book on my list is Noggin by John Corey Whaley. Now, I have read Where Things Come Back, and I recently read Highly Illogical Behavior, so this will be my third novel to read by John Corey Whaley, and I do really like his writing style. I liked Where Things Come Back a lot more than I liked Highly Illogical Behavior, but we'll see where Noggin fits in on the spectrum. Next, I have the third and concluding novel in the Grisha trilogy. Grisha? That is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I've read a lot of her books, and I'm really looking forward to finishing up this series. It's not the end of the world. It likely won't be the end of my exposure to the world, since she has the Six of Crows duology, which I have read, and I think she's planning on writing more in the Grisha universe, so that's exciting. But I definitely do want to finish up this series this year. This year I also want to read Little Bee by Chris Cleave. I don't know a lot about this novel because on the back it says, "We don't want to tell you too much about this book. It is a truly special story and we don't want to spoil it." So I want to read it. One of my really close friends read it and said that it was fantastic. I definitely trust his opinion, so we'll see what I think. Going back to YA, we have Passenger by Alexandra Bracken. I started reading this at the very beginning of 2016, and I only got probably a chapter into it or something, and then something else drew my attention away and I was distracted, the whole squirrel thing. Oops. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to it. The next two books that I have to show you are actually cookbooks, and if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a big lover of cookbooks. I just read them straight through. I also especially love plant-based cookbooks because I'm a vegetarian. So the first one here is The Plant Power Way by Rich Roll and Julie Piatt, and this has beautiful images. It's just absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to read through it, so I'll let you know how that one goes. The next cookbook is called But I Could Never Go Vegan, 125 Recipes, Zero Excuses. This one looks like fun. It's a little bit less serious. I'm always up for trying new things, so. Next up I have Too Late by Colleen Hoover, or Seek Hoover, but it's actually Colleen Hoover. This is a new adult, scary book. It's not scary like a thriller, it's just a really unfortunate, unhappy situation. It deals with drugs and a lot of awful situations, like I said. So I did start reading it. I'm having a hard time getting through it, but I definitely want to finish it this year. Not just this year, I mean, I'll probably finish it in the next month or so. Brightening things up a little, I have Illumine by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So many people have said so many amazing things about this book, and yet I haven't read it, even though it's been sitting on my shelf for a year, maybe more than a year, because this is an ARC, hardcover ARC, which is pretty impressive. But look, there are so many, I mean, it's black and white, and there are transcripts and interviews and just so much fun stuff going on, and I haven't read it yet, so I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm going to rectify the situation very soon. Next up, I have a turbulent young adult contemporary called Faking Normal by Courtney C. Stevens. I'm not exactly sure what this one is about because I was told to go into it blind, but I know that it's about a girl working through some issues, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about it. I also have here Money, Master the Game by Tony Robbins, who, like I said in my last video, is intimidating but very motivational. So I don't know a lot about finance, but I would like to learn more, so that's why I picked up this book. While we're on the topic of finance, I also have another book called Smart Women Finish Rich by David Bach, and so I'm gonna read this one too. Bringing it back to YA, I have Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This is a fantasy, or the first book in a fantasy series, and it's about these witches who can see, one can see the truth and one can see people's relationships to each other as like strands. She can see how people are connected to one another or something like that. And I hear that it has a really great theme of female friendship running throughout, so I'm looking forward to actually diving into this one. Another fantastical read I have here is Fragile Things by Neil Gaiman. I have read several of Neil Gaiman's other works. I loved The Sleeper and the Spindle that I read last year. I also read The Ocean at the End of the Lane. His writing style is just so fantastical and enchanting, and it just draws you in and you feel allured, and yeah, it's amazing. So I'm looking forward to reading this. This is a short story collection. I also have The Existentialist's Bible, Being in Nothingness by Jean-Paul Sartre. So hopefully this year I can brush up on my philosophy a bit. I also want to read This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I've read one other Victoria Schwab book, and it was The Archived. I didn't love it, which is why I haven't picked up any of her other ones, but so many people have raved about Vicious. I don't own that one yet, but I do want to read it eventually. And I do own this one, so I'm gonna probably get to this one first. I guess this is a YA novel where there are good people and the bad people are actually not people, they're monsters. So there are sort of these two factions in the city or in the world, and our two main characters each wish that they were part of the other side. So that sounds really interesting. Next book I have is by Sophie Kinsella, and that is Finding Audrey. This book deals with anxiety. It is a YA contemporary. I'm not sure what kind of anxiety, whether it's generalized anxiety disorder or OCD or anything like that, I'm not sure, but I definitely want to find out. I'm a psychology major and children's mental health minor at university, so this subject matter certainly interests me. Ooh, the next one should be pretty fascinating, and that is The Everything Store. And this is about Jeff Bezos. He is the founder of Amazon, and Amazon, as you know, is this huge conglomerate. Everybody buys things through there. I buy things through there. I buy protein powder and books and goji berries and all sorts of random things through Amazon. These are all things that I never would have purchased from Amazon 5 or 10 years ago, but it's just exploded into this huge phenomenon almost. So I'm interested to hear about his life or about his creation of the company. I have another biography, and that is Michelle Obama, A Life by Peter Slevin. I don't really know much about our former First Lady, and so I want to learn. Stick with me, we're almost at the end. The next one is Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki. This is the beginning of his autobiography. I guess it's 3 parts or something like this. So this is about the start of his career, and I see here Kiki's Delivery Service, which is my favorite Studio Ghibli film, so I'm looking forward to getting into this. I don't really know much about his career. I know that a lot of people who are Studio Ghibli fans are major fans and they know everything about all of the people involved in the creation of those movies, but I'm relatively ignorant, so I would like to fix that problem. The penultimate book in my 2017 TBR pile is The Edge of Never by J.A. Redmersky. This I don't know a lot about other than the fact that it's a new adult book, and I guess it's a little bit on the darker side, but also pretty sexy. So I don't read a lot of new adult, but I do pick them up twice a year or so, and they're fun. So I'll let you know what I think. Finally, we have A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. This is the second book in the Ember and the Ashes series, which I was disappointed to find out that it was a series because initially when the book was released it said a novel on the cover, and that was because Sabaa Tahir was a debut author and nobody was really sure if her book was going to go over well enough for them to create a whole series or for the publisher to want to spend the money to create a series. But they did, and I was kind of happy. I mean, I wasn't happy with how the first one ended, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I really liked the first book, and I've started this book, and I've been going through it incredibly slowly because it just hasn't captured my interest like the first one did. But I do want to finish it, so that is why it is the last book on my 2017 TBR pile. Now, I know that this may seem like a lot of books, but the thing is that I generally read close to 90 books a year, and so this is probably only, you know, probably about a quarter of the books that I would read this year, and these are just the ones that I want to make sure that I get to. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you are having a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and until next time, stay happy, stay healthy. Bye guys.